Cincinnati is beautiful, and there are so many lovely and charming and awesome houses to choose from here. But at the same time, there are a lot of houses that could end up costing you tons of time and headache and literally thousands of dollars if you choose the wrong house. If you've never lived here before or you don't know the area well and you're looking to move here, the problem is most buyers don't realize this until it's too late. And that's why in this video, I'm gonna walk through 8 different types of houses in the Cincinnati area that you should never buy. I mean, don't touch these houses with a 10-foot pole. I would never advise my clients to buy these houses because it'll end up costing them so much in the long run. And then we're gonna go through some of these costly problems that a lot of inspectors don't catch until it's too late. So stick around for all these items because I promise you, it might end up saving you a lot of money. Hey guys, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name's Eric. We kind of specialize here at Team Sztanyo at helping people relocate to the Cincinnati area. We've helped hundreds and hundreds of people move here, as well as helping local buyers and sellers with their real estate needs. We've got over 100 5-star Google reviews. You can go check those out. And we're a team that's ranked in the top 1% within all Keller Williams agents in a 6-state region. I am up here in Eden Park in Cincinnati. It's a beautiful park. It looks over the Ohio River. And you know what comes with rivers? Flooding. There's actually a lot of flooding that happens in the Cincinnati area, not just the Ohio River, but you've got these other tributary rivers. You know, on the Kentucky side, you've got the Licking River. On the Ohio side, you've got the Little Miami River and the Greater Miami River. And if you end up buying a house in one of these areas where these floodplains are at, flood insurance isn't optional, it's required. And that flood insurance is going to drastically change your monthly payment every single month. And it could also impact your resale value when you go to sell. So these different FEMA flood zones, like I said, it's not optional for you to get flood insurance. It's mandatory. You have to get it done. You can look behind me. We're kind of looking across into Kentucky right now, into Bellevue and Dayton, Kentucky. These homes that are not behind kind of a flood barrier, you know, you're going to be paying, like I said, extra hundreds of dollars every single month potentially for the flood insurance. And if you're in that flood zone, that's going to cause the appraisal to be a little bit lower. That could make it more difficult to get financing in place. And there also might be some expensive repairs you need to make just to make sure your house is going to be waterproof. So that might be sump pumps, that might be French drains that you need to put in. All these different things to make sure that if water does rise in that flood zone, you know, you're going to be able to try to mitigate that water damage as much as possible. These are things that you really need to think about in terms of where you're buying a home. Are you in that floodplain? And like I said, it's not uncommon for that insurance to be hundreds of dollars every single month. You know, you could probably plan on it being $2,000, $3,000, maybe up to $5,000 extra every single year just for the insurance. And I'll tell you, as someone who's lived here for over 35 years, sometimes I can look at this river and be like, there's no way it's gonna flood. But I see these markers on the bridges. I'm like, man, the river really got that high. And just this last year in 2025, in the spring, we had a heavy flood, and the Licking River and the Ohio River went crazy. I mean, when those floods come, they are powerful. So you need that insurance for a reason. So when you're moving here, this is definitely something you need to check. It might not be just by the Ohio River or these other bigger rivers like the Licking or the Greater Miami. It might even be if the home is too close to a creek as well. So you need to watch out for these things. A good realtor who knows these areas, who's able to kind of look up at these FEMA maps and let you know, double check with the sellers about certification on flood maps, can really help you out in the situation, help you mitigate your risk when it comes to flood zones. All right, so I mentioned, you know, a lot of these homes are older. There's a lot of historic charm that comes with that, but there's also a lot of foundation issues that come with that as well. So we're gonna pop over. I think I'm gonna go down to Bellevue right now and actually show you guys some of these houses and what they look like and some of the problems that can come with them and maybe how they can be avoided as well. Let's go check it out. All right. So we are down here now in Bellevue, Kentucky. Some of these streets are gonna be in those flood zones, but the second kind of home you need to watch out for are these lovely, charming, historic homes, but they could have foundation issues. So like I said, Cincinnati's not a new city, right? It's been around for a while. It's not like New England old, but it's a pretty old city. And a lot of these homes are easily over 100 years old. And what does that mean? Well, it means stone foundations. It means that over time, you could have a lot of settling. You could have water issues. If you're not draining water away from these houses properly, you can definitely have a lot of issues with the foundation. That could look like water getting into the basement. That could end up causing mold problems, which are terrible. We'll talk about that more. That could cause worse than that. That could cause cracks in the foundation. That can cause shifting where the whole home starts leaning. You know, you couple that with Cincinnati's a very hilly area. And so you've got these river valleys and you've got a lot of these homes that are on hills with older foundations. You could easily find a home that's cracking, that's leaning the wrong way, and that can cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And so the first problem with that is you're just gonna have a smaller buyer pool, number one. Like some people are gonna see that it's had foundation work and they're just not even gonna wanna touch it. If they see that, they're out. So your buyer pool is significantly less right off the bat, which you're not gonna get the highest price if you have less demand and less buyers who are looking at your house. And then secondly, let's say you do get under contract, then you've gotta go through the repairs process. And if they've got an inspector, has your buyer freaking out and telling him like, look, this house is gonna fall down, you need to get a structural engineer out here, blah, 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 then that buyer may, come back and ask for $10, $15, $20, $30,000 off the purchase price once you're already under contract. This is why I say, guys, homes with foundation issues, I would not touch them unless you're like really desperate and you have to get it. There are companies that can make these repairs and the repairs of the homes are good, but it's probably going to cost you lots of time, headache, and literally thousands upon thousands of dollars. I would not mess with homes that have foundation issues, and there are a lot of them here in the Cincinnati area. So be on the lookout for that. And so just to identify some neighborhoods where that could happen, well, it's going to be where you have these 100-year-old homes. So here in Bellevue or Newport, Covington, Kentucky, downtown Cincinnati, Mount Adams, Walnut Hills, Hyde Park, really areas kind of surrounding downtown Cincinnati. As you get further out, the homes kind of become newer and newer as you keep going outside of the main downtown Cincinnati. So besides making sure you have a realtor who knows what they're looking at, an inspector who knows what they're looking at when they're buying the house, another way to potentially get around this, if you love those neighborhoods and want the charm, is to potentially find some newer construction in those areas. It's harder to find, it's going to be a lot more rare, but that's a way to live in those charming communities that have a lot of those amenities and not worry so much about the foundation risks. I guess I will just say one more thing to that is it's not always just the older homes either. I just went on a listing appointment this week. Home was built in 1978 in Villa Hills, Kentucky, and there were some major cracks in that foundation. It wasn't poured great. There was some really, really dry summers. There was a giant crack right under the main steel beam. There was a horizontal crack in the foundation wall underneath the porch, and the garage was settling a good deal. So it's not just the 100-year-old homes. You got to make sure you're working with an agent who knows what they're looking for, and just be careful with these foundation issues. All right, we've been talking about the houses, but I'm gonna actually take you inside of one of these houses now so you can see some of these issues. Shout out to my guy, Ben Neltner here with Neltner Realty. This is actually his house, his listing for sale, but I'm gonna show you some of the actual items we wanna talk about that you need to be careful for when you're looking to buy a house. All right, so we talked about foundations, and I'm going to actually speak to that in this house because they had a major issue with the foundation as well. But the next on the list on homes you got to look out for are old wiring, okay? So electrical issues. So a lot of homes built in the 60s and 70s, they're going to have aluminum wiring. That's going to be potential safety issue. You're going to have receptacles that might get hotter that could potentially start a fire down the road. That could lead to costly repairs for you if they're not caught in the inspection. And even prior to that, what you see a lot of these Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati homes is knob and tube wiring, specifically in the basement, but oftentimes it's run behind these plaster walls or up and through the attic. And this is just an outdated form of wiring that has potentially the insulation is kind of worn out on the wiring, and there's a bit of an arc. And so potentially if there's a surge, or if you're using appliances that's more electric than that house was originally designed for, or that breaker box has not been updated, there's a greater chance for a fire. So not only is this a huge safety risk to you, but this could be more in insurance, this could be more in repairs, this could make it harder when you go to try to resale the house. So in these older homes, you've got to look out for these electrical wiring issues that could cost you a lot of money. Let's actually go downstairs in the basement and check out what's going on with this one. All right, if you're not used to old Northern Kentucky basements, here you go. This one's actually in really good shape. You can see they've kind of painted everything. They've done new plumbing, and let's find that breaker box. All right, so you can see in this electrical panel, this has all been redone, okay? This is what we like to see. We like to see Romex coming in. We like to see updated wires coming in. We like to see a nice, clean, updated panel. What we don't want to see, and where you will usually see it, is up in the ceiling of these basements, you'll find this old knob and tube around, and it's very common to see. But this all looks great right here. This is updated wiring. The electrician did a great job on this. This is what you want to see if you're buying one of these homes. Now I'm actually trying to find the old knob and tube in the ceiling. I don't see it. Like somebody did a really good job here. But usually you'll be like, Eric, what does it look like? Well, it actually looks like a knob and a tube. Like it's pretty well defined here, but all this electric looks really great down here. So they did a really good job here, but definitely something you got to keep your eye on. Make sure your agent knows what they're doing so that they can spot this kind of electric, because I guarantee it's going to come up in the inspection report. I guarantee it could cause insurance problems. Like you might not even be able to get insurance. So if that seller is not willing to make those repairs on the knob and tube, they're like, no, we're selling it as is. We don't want to do that. We don't have the money to do that up front. You may have just wasted time. You might have wasted a deposit. You may have wasted a lot of time and hassle and headache and money because you didn't spot those things when going through the house. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this too. I'm going out the door here. This is so helpful for you guys to see. But like they said they had some foundation issues on this back wall. They said that they had this brick replaced, which they did. If you guys can see what's going on in this backyard, you can see like where water issues over time, this cement right here is wanting to pull away from the home because this is a hill, right? Going straight down. It's so common to see this here in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, where these homes are built on the hill. And over time, if you've got a 100-year-old home and you're not taking care of the water issues properly, you're going to get shifting in this foundation wall. You know, this wall is going to have pressure on it over time. And that's exactly why on this property disclosure, they said, hey, we also had an issue with this main beam of the home. So what did they do? They replaced this whole beam here. They repaired this beam right here. They did a really good job here. This is something besides the electric, besides the foundation and water issues. The other way you'll be able to feel this when you're going through a home is you actually feel it while walking through the house. You'll feel that it's uneven. Like if you put a marble down, it'll slide to one end of the floor, right? And you're like, something's not right in that foundation. Now you could live with it. You could buy that house. That house has probably been on the market for a while and you can live in it. The problem comes is if a serious issue comes while you're living there, you got to make the repair. But when you go to try to resell it, it's going to be so hard. So just steer clear if you can. So you can see, I'll show you guys what this property disclosure looks like. They said the prior owner had the rear wall of the foundation completely replaced. We had brickwork done because we moved a door and removed a window to make the kitchen more functional. We had the main beam of the home replaced and inspected. So again, I know this realtor, I know the person who did this flip, and that's someone with integrity who's going to tell you what they did. Here was the problem we had. Here's what we did to correct it. Not everyone is going to disclose that. Not everyone is that honest and full of integrity. And that can just come back to be a major issue. And now maybe you're in lawsuits down the road. Nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants that. Don't do it. All right, let's talk about number 4 on the list of homes that you probably want to avoid. And it's kind of in the same light of older foundations, but it's going to be these neglected historic homes. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of them here in Cincinnati. So whether you're looking at OTR or Clifton, or like I said, Walnut Hills or North Side or Norwood, or, even on the Kentucky side in Covington or Newport or Ludlow, areas like that, Bellevue, where we're at right now. These homes can be beautiful. Like they can have these great front porches. They can have amazing staircases, tall ceilings. The original construction is usually very solid. Like you go down and look at the wood and the floor joists and you're like, oh my gosh, like they don't use that kind of material anymore. The flip side to that is that there can be tons of deferred maintenance that can just be a money pit for you. So you can ask Tom Hanks about this, right? Like this can be so much money, whether it's a lot of these roofs might be a slate shingle roof. To repair that could be $30, $40, $50, $70,000, or they might have box gutters, which again, are very expensive to repair if water's gotten in them over time and they're sagging down. Additionally, you might have some safety issues, right? You might have lead-based paint. So anything before 1978, there could be a chance that there's lead-based paint in that home. There has to be a disclosure here locally saying if the seller knows, if they're aware, if they have lead-based paint in the home. And a lot of these older homes, they do. So if you're doing construction, especially if you have little kids, this is a big issue. Along with that, similarly, there could be asbestos in the home, whether that's in the insulation, whether they're wrapping pipes, there could be asbestos, and removing that, it can be very, very, very costly. There could be old plumbing. It could be galvanized plumbing or lead pipes that are rusting out. And to swap out that plumbing could be, again, thousands and thousands of dollars. Maybe the HVAC is old as well. Maybe the insulation is terrible. Now, I've made some of these mistakes. I've told you about my foundation. The second house I bought was a 100-year-old home, and the insulation bill was crazy to start. We had someone come into the house and they ran like a meter where they test the air and how much it's flowing. And he did it. He finished his report and he said to me, Eric, basically it's like your front door is open all of the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this doing to my heating bills? I'm paying hundreds of dollars every single month because of this old construction and the insulation that's really bad in the home. So I know you might be tempted to get one of these historic homes, and I'm not saying not to do it completely, because it all can be done. It's just, you've got to be able to estimate properly how much money it's going to take to repair all those things. And more likely than not, you're going to underestimate. No matter what number you put on it, you need to probably add like 30 to 50%. That's what happens all the time. So if you want that home, and I know a lot of you still do, here's my tip on that. Make sure if you're going to choose a historic home, you pick one that's already had a lot of the major systems updated by someone quality like this one that we're seeing right here, where you see the electric, you see the plumbing's been redone, you see that the roof is in good shape, you know that the HVAC is updated, you look at the disclosure and they're actually telling you the things that they fixed. If you just pick one where the cosmetic updates have been done, but everything else is kind of swept under the rug, that's not going to end well for you. So if you want that historic home, that's fine. Just make sure you've done one where the contractor has done those major updates and you can kind of inspect that work and make sure it was done properly. Next on the list, homes to avoid. Homes that have had termite damage. So termites, they're gonna get in behind the walls, they're gonna get in the foundation, they could do damage to the main beam itself. How are you gonna know this? Well, if you're walking through the house, you might feel the floors sagging once again. And if these are in the home and you don't get them treated, they can cost thousands and thousands of dollars. In fact, I've got a buyer going through this right now. This is a home in Covington. Again, an older home, and termites got in, there was no treatment. We knew that floors were sagging, but we didn't know until we did the inspection how bad it really was. This is a pro tip. Always make sure if you suspect termites, especially in these older homes, that you get what's called a WDI report, a wood destroying insect report. Make sure that your inspector can do that, and the inspectors that we always recommend for our clients will offer this service to you, because we know that this is a major issue here. So we're into this home and the floors are sagging, the joists need to be sistered, there's beam issues that needs to be replaced. We got the quote from one of these basement companies that fixed these issues, $14,000, okay? $14,000. Now this could blow up the whole deal. We're still actually working through it because a lot of times sellers don't have that money to pay that on the front end. And this is additionally, this can cause issues with the loan. Now this is a VA loan, Veterans Affairs loan. And so that work has to actually be done and inspected prior to the loan being issued. So this is a complicated issue. We've experienced this before. We're walking our buyers through it, and we're doing it in such a way to make sure that our buyers are protected the whole way. But it's a lot of headache. It's a lot of extra work. And now you got to be thinking, was that work done properly? And again, on the back side, you might be thinking, well, is this going to cause issues in terms of the buyers who will want to buy my house? Because I've got to disclose this down the road that this work was done, and that might cut down your buyer pool on the backside. So just be very careful that if you're looking at these homes, when you're walking the home, you can see this a little bit. You can see like the termite tubes are kind of these thin mud tubes. So you got to keep an eye on that. Feel actually as you're walking through the home itself. But if you want to avoid this, potentially buy a newer home with a newer foundation, or make sure the seller has had an ongoing treatment plan. Let's say they treated it every 5 years or something like that for termites. You can feel a lot safer about the purchase if the seller has been proactive about termite treatment along the way. All right, next on the list of homes I would not touch are going to be condos with HOAs that are poorly managed, okay? So condos can obviously be a great option for someone who wants that lower maintenance, who doesn't want to think about the yard repair, all those other things, maybe the exterior of the building. And there are a lot of them here. There are a lot of great options downtown, in OTR, in Hyde Park, in Fort Thomas, all over the place in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. There are a lot of great condo options. But if they've been managed poorly, if they are not keeping up with the dues required, there might be some major assessments coming due that could fall on you. So what you're looking for here, you want to find HOAs that are proactive, that communicate really well, that are well funded. You don't want to see any fees that have been rising consistently over time. And you need to get all of that information on the front end before you jump in. And you can get that. In fact, some of the contracts here give you actually a period to review the HOA documents. You can look at the financials, you can look at the covenants and restrictions, the declarations, and even the minutes from the board meetings. And you typically have a certain amount of days to do that review before you go forward with a purchase. Don't skip that. Because if you look under the rug and you realize that this has been poorly managed for a period of time, that means maybe a new roof is coming, right? Or maybe some big assessment you're not aware of is coming, and you're subject right to that. You can't do anything because people who are on the board of the HOA, they're the ones making all of those decisions. And as a resident, you just have to abide by them. So I think condos, I think townhomes, even patio homes that have HOAs, these can all be a great option for people who are looking for a lower maintenance housing option, but you've got to do your homework. Make sure, again, you're working with an agent who knows these things, who knows what to check, knows what documents to look for and review, so you don't find yourself in a situation where you're paying a lot of extra money because the HOA was run poorly. All right, next on the list of homes to avoid, homes that are gonna have mold or drainage issues. So again, this kind of goes back to foundation to an extent. This comes back to the waterproofing around the house. This comes back potentially to how old the home is, but it is not uncommon for homes here in the Cincinnati area to have problems with mold, okay? And this can cause serious health issues, especially if you have kids or people who have respiratory issues in your family, including yourself. Serious health issues, again, this can cost thousands and thousands of dollars to have proper mold mitigation occur in your home. This is expensive, guys. Very, very, very expensive. Here's the deal. This is the Ohio River Valley region. It's very humid here. It's not uncommon to get mold in this area. In fact, I built a brand new addition on my house this summer, and just simply for having materials in the home, and we didn't have the proper dehumidifiers running, we didn't have our HVAC running yet, we had mold in our house, in a brand new house. So you got to be really careful with this in the Cincinnati area. Now, how can you spot this? Well, obviously you want to use your inspector, but even when you're going through the home, there's a lot of basements here. If you go into that basement and you're getting kind of a damp, musty smell, it just doesn't smell quite right, that is a big red flag. And this comes back to those foundations. If those foundations are getting moisture in them on a regular basis, if they don't have a sump pump, if they don't have the proper drainage system, and water's not moving away from the house, it's gonna work its way into that basement, and then you're gonna have these issues with mold. And like I said, that can cause health issues for you personally, but that can also cost these long-term, expensive structural issues. And again, even if you do get it mitigated, and there are some companies who do here locally, just like the foundation repair, you got to disclose that when you go to sell the house. So again, it's cutting down your buyer pool. It's going to make it a lot harder to sell that home down the road. So how do you handle this problem? One, you look for houses that have proper drainage, right? There's good sloping and grading away from the property. Generally speaking, newer construction homes are going to do a lot better here than a lot of the older homes. So, if you don't want to mess with this at all, then maybe you're looking for something that was built in the 90s, in the 2000s, and sooner. Those homes typically do really well. And you're looking for things like sump pumps in the basement. Do they have the drainage already put in place? Are you in the basement and it seems fine? Is it dry as a bone? I actually really, really like taking buyers out to show houses on rainy days. I think going out on rainy days is the best time to go because you can see exactly what's happening with the water in the gutters. Is it being moved away from the property properly? And is there water getting into the basement? So that's a bit of a pro tip if you can. Going and seeing homes, and if a lot of people are buying homes in the spring season, there's a lot of rain in the spring season. They might not look as pretty. The day's going to be a little bit more gray, but to have rain and actually go see those houses during the rain can be a really good thing to help prevent you buying a home with mold issues that's going to cost you down the line. All right, guys, the last house that I would never touch if I was moving to Cincinnati are houses that have poor grading, okay? So the soil here in Cincinnati is generally clay. It holds a lot of water, and then it can get, when it dries out, it gets really hard. So you can kind of even see this. You see this wall behind me? You see how crooked this is? This happens all over the place in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky because if water doesn't have a place to go, it's being held by this clay soil, and it can cause these issues like this wall behind me right here that's just leaning. Now imagine that's not just a wall in the front of your house. Imagine that is your house, okay? And there are a lot of houses, like if you look behind me, we were just over here at Eden Park, but across the Ohio River here, we're looking at, Hyde Park and Mount Lookout and Mount Adams, places that are on these hills. There's a lot of houses on hills in Cincinnati. It's the city of 7 hills. And if your house is not graded properly to have water run off, you could have serious issues with your home. Your home could literally fall down the hill. I actually had a seller like this a few years back. They were on a hill in Northern Kentucky, and a lot of the homes on that street could not sell because literally the whole hill was kind of falling down. And the only way to fix that was to drill in super deep with these expensive piers to make sure the foundation was stable. And I'm looking across on the Ohio side at US 50, and my office is right over there. And a few years back, there was a major project because so much of that hill was causing landslides. It was actually falling on the highway, causing a ton of safety issues just from the highway. You imagine that as your house and you've got structural concerns and, major repair costs just to try to live in the place. And again, imagine how difficult it is to resale the home if you've got major structural concerns because the soil is not proper for your house. So on one side, I would say, hey, look, great. You get all of these houses with these killer river views, and they're beautiful. But on the second side, you've got to make sure you know what to look for. These big cracks in the ground, making sure the water is draining off properly and the grading is really good. Make sure you are working with an agent who knows what to look for. Make sure you are working with an inspector who's not just checking the boxes. Otherwise, you could be saddled with so much cost and headache. You could be stuck in this house that's going to cost you so much stress, so much anxiety, and potentially so much money. All right, guys, as you can see, there are so many different pitfalls and so many different kinds of homes here in the Cincinnati area that can really be a terrible situation for you. So whether that's being in the flood zone and the extra insurance costs, or having foundation issues, or electrical issues, or mold issues, or soil issues, or grading issues, all of these problems can really turn what you want to be your dream home into an actual financial nightmare, okay? And I don't want that for you guys. I'm working with these homes day in and day out. I've been working with them for years. I'm selling these houses all the time. I know exactly what to look for, whether it's foundation issues, whether it's water issues, whether it's major systems of the home issues. Myself and my team, we know what to look for when we're going through houses and say, look, I know you love this location. I know you love the price point. There's a reason why it's still on the market. Don't buy this house, okay? I advise you not to buy this house. Now, ultimately, our team works for you and you can do what you want, but we're gonna at least warn you of the issues ahead of time so that you're not gonna get into a huge mistake. So if you're someone who's looking to buy in the Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky area, guys, my team would love to be your real estate team of choice. Reach out to us. Our contact information is on the screen. If you're not ready yet, totally cool. Like I said, I mentioned that relocation guide earlier. That's a free download for you just to get to know the areas, the neighborhoods, the schools, the events. We put that together for our clients and they love it. Like, a lot of people have been downloading that and letting us know, hey, thank you. This is a great guide, a great resource for us to go back to. And like I said, it's free, it's easy. Go ahead and download that. The link is in the description below. All right, guys, if you've watched to the end, I appreciate you. You are the real Sztanyo Clanyo. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.